success. Keep going like possession, driving deep into your chest. Every failure is a test. Learn the most, leave the rest. Ain't nobody know what I've been through. Ain't nobody know what I can't do. I'm ready to go, ready to battle. I'll put on a show, that's a dazzle. I'm about to take off. Never gonna stop till I'm shine, never shine. I'm about to take off. Never gonna stop till I'm shine, never shine. So get out, wait, just stay to the train, yeah. 'Cause I love taste up, place, God, place, yeah. Gonna stop till I'm shine, never shine. 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 Yo, I just gotta hit it one time. Let's go. Better hit the gas for a minute, no cap, no minute. I attack till I finish, I attract till I get it, got my cash, I get it, never pass my limit, too fast, when I'm spitting, read it back, never get it on. Flipping that switch as I'm hitting these bars, like a gift, I spit like I'm sipping gold bars, and these kids, no kidding, I've been winning, sitting, getting my best side, getting while I'm hitting on a mission. Ooh, spicy, I know they like me, but I got a whitey, she be real nice to me, no works like me, got a different mindset, my rhythm is pricey, got a different psyche, ooh, lyrics are icy, living life nicely, living life precisely, living divinely, manifest wisely, all I know is that I've been living for the sightseeing, been around the world for first class ticket, man, I'm in it, man, I'm winning, I don't have no limit, if I want it, then I get it, if you want it, I get it, I ain't never done finished, I'm a giver, I've been in my first race, I've been winning 6 shots, been winning it, but I still keep ripping, and I still keep getting 2 ways, I'm splitting all in, I'm risking it all, yeah, I don't ever fall, yeah, but if I do, I get back up, stand tall, yeah, I want it all, yeah, a good life, I don't think small, yeah, I'ma be big one day, see me taking off front way, my name on the light someday, looking at a crowd that loves me, yeah, I came here to play.
All right. Happy Tuesday. Cal, how we doing, brother?
Not doing too bad. 3 weeks, 3 wins. Pace is still up there. On top of that, we got word from an agent of mine that Vientos is getting called up.
Okay.
So that's also pretty huge.
Okay.
So the Taylor Trammell thing has now been filled. That massive hole's gone. So, yeah, things are looking up for this Angel team. But overall, it's been a pretty decent week.
I love that. Well, welcome everyone to week 6. We have a pretty, I guess, interesting little episode tonight. David of the Athletics normally is able to run kind of this background script for us that allows the power rankings to sort of be automated in a sense, which is fantastic for me because that saves me hours of my life during the week. But this week he is on a work trip, he said, so he couldn't get to it. So tonight I know you made some notes. You kind of went through and do it, but I am going into this flying blind. I'm just going to kind of give I don't know, maybe we'll call them hot takes, if you want to call it that, as we kind of go through our normal rundown. So we'll take a look, power rankings. We'll take a look, just kind of some standing stuff, maybe give our own opinions there, and then kind of look at the week that we're in right now as well. So with that being said, I'll move us over to our power rankings here. These are the power rankings from last week, just so everybody knows that this is not the current, right? We don't have the any updates in here at all. So just so everyone's aware, want to make that very clear. So with that being said, Cal, why don't you? Well, actually, you know what? Let me ask you this question. Should we start with the standings instead, and maybe talk about kind of where we are, and then we'll go into our predictions as to why we think. Fine. Okay, awesome. So I'll bring up the standings. Anything specific you wanted to kind of point out first?
I would say the NL Central is looking like to be the hottest ticket in town. The Cardinals, Cubs, and Pirates all within a game of each other. Even Cubs and Cardinals being tied. I know that maybe it's not like a 5-man race or even like a 4-man race like we have in the NL West.
Yeah.
But still, that 3-headed monster up top is pretty fun to watch. Also, speaking of the NL West, the Padres sneaking into second place after the title fight, I would say, between the Giants and the Dodgers. That went, I think both teams scored well over 300 plus. Yeah. You know, someone had to lose that game.
Yep.
Padres sneaking into second place. It's great to see Greg succeeding with that squad finally. So that's awesome. And then I think really that's all I had overall, except for the fact that I see this week we have a lot of divisional matchups. So getting to the standings is going to be beneficial, I think.
Yeah. For me, you know, specifically the Giants Dodgers matchup, I think was obviously a big one people were looking at. You know, crazy that the Giants are, 16-2. Obviously, he's got a really good team. I think it's always interesting to look at the points scored, right? I think if you look at the total standings right now, see if I can get them, or the combined standings, I should say. Just looking at like the points for, if I sort by that, like I'm the 5th best team in the league by record, supposedly, but I'm out of the top 10 easily for points scored. I'm probably, in the 13 range. Don't know exactly how many that is, but, we got the Dodgers who are 12th, Tigers 13th, Yankees 15th, Mariners 11th, all of who are higher than me, which I think is really interesting. Even like the Mets, they're 13-5, 8th best record in the league, and they're lower than I am. They're 5 spots lower than me. So, but what also is kind of interesting is you look at the bottom 10, it's pretty much everyone 21 through 30, which I think says a lot about maybe luck at the top, maybe not so much luck, but more skill at the bottom. I don't know. As a resident,
I don't know if it's
dollar.
I don't know if it's like when you're at that level, there's not as much luck at the bottom because you're kind of consistent when you're scoring. Like I'm not going to be going out there and scoring 300 points, whereas I think there's a lot more volatility at the top, anyways, as is. Because like we've seen teams score 360 and then we'll see them score 240 the next week.
Yep.
That's not going to happen with your bottom 10 teams, I don't think. Usually you know what you're getting.
Yeah, it's been that's a really interesting point in terms of the volatility we've seen between just week to week from a single team, right? And that's happened to a lot of different teams kind of across the board. And I know for me specifically, that'll be something I point out when I'm kind of giving my predictions for the power rankings. But speaking of just looking at the power rankings, if you look at like the average scores that teams have during the week, I mean, there's a difference of at least 100 points, I think, for most weeks between the highest and lowest, which is like, that's crazy to me, right? Like if you literally just swapped those two, the chances are the records are going to be swapped too, right? So it's very, very interesting, how much that obviously is playing a role, and just the schedule itself, right? The schedule matters. What teams you're playing, what weeks matters, and being consistent is a big deal. So, only other thing I wanted to mention, because I think Brendan might be watching. He sends me a GIF saying no every time I put out a link to the episode or the podcast that we're going to be doing. So in case he is listening, I just wanted to point out the 3-game lead that I have in the Central. both. I mean, John's destroying us in points, which is crazy. He's been super unlucky so far in terms of the amount of points he's had scored against him. But yeah, AL Central looking like a 3-dog race there too. So, but with that being said, let's move on to our power ranking. I guess blind predictions, so to speak, and mine are much more blind than yours are.
Yeah.
So I'll have, just so everyone can kind of see, I'll have the rankings up from last week up, so we can kind of reference it. But where did you want to start?
Yeah, so I would say the most movement we're probably going to see is going to be in like 15 and up.
Okay.
And what I'm seeing is probably even more in the green section than we are even in the yellow. So
Okay.
I'd say the green would be. I think it might be a hot take, but O's dropping even though they go 3-0 is a possibility only because of their opponents. I was one of their opponents. Sure. I believe they either played the White Sox or the Reds. I'm going back here last week real quick, trying to pull them up right now as we speak. And then I think they played the Blue Jays, the Reds, and then myself. Not great opponents, but they did go 3-0. But so many teams below them had like monster weeks, like the Phillies and the Padres. That I think there might be a shift there at that point. So, and Yankees might even drop a few spots. They were one of the teams I was thinking of as far as volatility is concerned. They had a very tough week. If I recall, they went over.
Yep, I think so.
Let me pull them up. Let's see. I think slow. So yeah, they put up 260, which is really not a bad week at all. I'd love to have 260.
Yeah.
But they played the Cubs with, who
tough
kind of was their closest matchup.
Tough.
And they still lost by 20 points. And they played the Pirates and the A's over for the week. And that's just, it's not going to cut it in this tier. So
yeah,
I think they're going to probably drop a few spots for that. In their place, probably be the Padres and the Phillies. Padres and Phils both put up 300 plus.
Yep.
Both went, I believe, 3-0. So that's going to have to at least reflect something in the power rankings. And then this is one where I'm not sure where you put them. I don't know who's going to be asked to move down, but the Mariners had they put up 320 this week.
Yeah.
And when 3-0, they got to go somewhere. They're sitting at 14 right now behind the Royals, Pirates, and Rockies.
Yep.
I don't know who I'd have to have drop to make room for them, but you think they'd have to move up somehow.
And so something that I always like to look at, again, just going into this kind of blind, but something that I like to look at is that strength of schedule number. So just the average weekly total score against teams, right? Because that can obviously play into the rankings a decent amount. Just looking through it, and I didn't even realize this either, but I have the second hardest strength of schedule in the league, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, it's been up and down, I guess. Right. As we've moved through, the week one I had a bunch of points scored against me, so that was probably part of it. But just I like to look at that, and you're talking about, so like a team like the Mariners, right? They are sitting at 299, which is one of the higher strength of schedules that we have, and so that's going to benefit him. And then you look at what was the team? Who did you say was going to? Oh, the Orioles were going to drop. Interestingly enough, Orioles 306. They're also up there, pretty high. Who else did you talked about? The Phillies and Padres potentially. Phillies 274. That might be the lowest, actually.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Third lowest, something like that. It's like that really hurts them. Padres 290. Again, a little low on the low side. That will hurt them. So I think your predictions are also backed up by science and data and math, which we all like.
I'm a science guy.
but yeah, I think that's, if I was gonna look at it, I would probably base my predictions off of that. I could see the Giants sitting in second, probably part of the reason being they have a lower strength of schedule. I don't necessarily see many of the top teams moving there. I could maybe see New York falling. I could see Detroit moving up there. In terms of your Seattle question, I don't think Brendan had a great week last week. I feel like I remember looking, and at one point he had like the 26th most points in the week.
I
feel like I looked on like Friday or something, and he was way down there. Maybe that changed over the weekend, but I could see him dropping. I know Allen had a better week, so it probably wouldn't be him.
Let's see. Yeah, Brendan had kind of a down week. He went. Let's see, 1-2 on the week. Played the Diamondbacks, who put up 188. Brendan put up 238. Lost to the Phillies, who monster week, and then the Astros at 279.
Yeah,
so kind of all over the map there.
Yeah. So that'd probably be my guess in terms of if Seattle had to move up. In the bottom half, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that there'd be much movement. There wasn't. I feel like maybe that was this week that Mark of Cleveland, he had a really strong start this week. So I guess if he had a decent week last week, I could see him maybe moving up a couple spots.
I think even the Red Sox might drop just because.
I was gonna say I was hoping they were gonna move up.
Yeah. I don't see how they can hold playing a horrible schedule.
Yeah.
They went 2-1.
Yep.
And then put up 214 points, and then trying to keep back the Blue Jays and Rays. It's not going to be a huge drop, I don't think. Maybe the Guardians will usurp them. I don't know, but I still think the AL East and the AL and the NL East will stay bunched up together, probably.
Yeah,
down in that 17 through 22 range.
Yeah, you're probably right. No one, I mean, outside of, because again, like the Mets, the 8th best record in the league, right? Like 13-5, I think it was, or something like that. Like they're sitting in our 19 spot. Right. I guess I would like to think because of that, they could be a team that potentially moves up. I don't think Miami has been playing that well. Like, I could maybe see them falling. Allen apparently thinks the Mariners are going to move ahead of the Rockies. I don't know. I felt like Allen had a decent week last week. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
let's pull him up. But by the way, the Mets are actually a good candidate to move up, considering that they put up 292 and they faced a really good Cardinal team.
I'll pull them up on the stream here.
Astros are 279, and then a Brewery team, which has kind of been hit or miss, but still put up 240 points.
Yeah, I guess Allen actually had a down week. I didn't realize that he only scored 227, and he played Pittsburgh, the Cubs, and the Marlins. He went 0-3 last week. So yeah, I could see him falling potentially as well. That's a good call out for Allen for sure. And interesting, and I don't know, man. There's some teams, and I'm sure Allen's sitting there being like, "Yeah, guys, I fucking know it's my team. I scratch my head every week about these guys." But it just feels, I mean, with his team, it feels for some reason it still feels like Frank with the Cubs, his team, and honestly, I'll say your dad's team. Sorry if you just heard my dogs bark. I don't know what just happened, but apparently something's going crazy right now. But yeah, my assumption, or what I don't understand with those teams is how big of fluctuations they have. Allen literally scored 100 points less.
Yeah,
100 points less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than what he scored the week before. So I'm gonna shut my door. Hang on.
Yeah, I'd even throw in the like the Yankees, who we talked about being as highly ranked as they are, and they totally deserve it.
Yeah.
Still, you don't know when you're going to get a dud of a week.
Yep.
And I think I even brought up the Astros like last week about them just being all over the place. We don't know what's going to happen week over week. I think this might be their most like average week of just keep it right in the middle.
Yep.
Be okay. And it seemed to have worked out not too bad in their favor.
Yeah, I would agree. And I mean, this week, just going back to Allen, he's got Tampa, U, and Cincinnati.
That's nice.
So like that,
that's real nice.
He's got an opportunity, right? I mean, to bounce back. Tampa is off to a heck of a start this week. They're already at 101 points, but yeah, I mean, obviously an opportunity for him to bounce back. So yeah, I think those are some blind predictions. I think we'll have to obviously see. Maybe on Friday we'll maybe shoot something into the podcast channel on the Discord to be like, hey, this is how wrong we were or right. But yeah, anything else you wanted to highlight or talk about?
No, but I think it'll be pretty fun just to see how wrong I am about some of these.
Correct. We don't usually have to do the math, right? We're not usually the ones having to think very much. We just read and then talk about it. So it'll be funny to see that and do the math. So, but yeah, with that being said, usually our next section is transactions, but as you and I mentioned already, not much of anything going on. A bunch of movement on the minors side of things, and no trades outside of the $3 for Oliver Dunn. That's about the only thing that went down, and I'm sure we were all shocked that Frank was the one who paid the $3
He's got it.
Someone like Oliver Dunn. So, but yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to this week. So let me pull up the schedule here. And let's let's go down. Oh, actually, there's a better view. Let me go to results. I feel like the results is a better view. I feel like, yeah, there we go. All right, so this week, again, I'm doing this blind. So why don't you start us off about what are some matchups you're looking at this week?
Yeah, my emphasis this week was I'm not seeing really any good matchups as far as the power rankings are concerned. Like maybe a 2 and a 5, or maybe like a top 5 team has an easy cupcake week.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more like divisional matchups, especially we're getting kind of close to June. I think this is kind of like the make or break time where it's just we got to start ripping off some wins before we start deciding whether or not we're going to buy or sell.
Yeah.
So right now I'm seeing we got the Giants versus the Padres, which is a nice 1-2 battle there. Phillies and Mets, which is another 1-2 in the division. This is kind of like a more boring one, but I'd say this might be a one to watch for upset. But Rays and Yankees.
Yeah.
With Kevin just ripped off. I don't know where that came from. The 100 points.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that was going to be. Yeah, if we did this going like start of the week, I would not have placed it as on my radar. But that's kind of one to watch. And then of course, let's save the best for last. We have a Tyler Brendan fight going on. So,
big time rivalry this week. Big time rivalry. I mean, the nice thing, I already know Brendan's dumping. So it shouldn't even be a competition. We should
take advantage of that.
It should be a 3-0 week for the Twins this week. So
nice.
I'm lucky. I got Jose Urena, who is starting for Texas randomly because of their injuries. And I've gotten 2 real nice, like high teens starts out of him. So
jeez, the luck just keeps coming.
I know. I got 8 starts this week. It's crazy. It is actually crazy.
Man.
With all the injuries I've had. But yeah, I would agree. I think just looking through this again, blind, I don't see anything really that like sticks out. There are some bigger matchups. Another one, Seattle, St. Louis. That one stuck out. Baltimore, St. Louis. Looks like Jeff might have a decently hard schedule. I guess he's got your dad as his 3rd game. So
yeah, I should at least give him one. You would think, but even then,
huge.
I don't.
Yeah, Cubs.
He should be okay.
Cubs, Dodgers.
That's the one scoring the most against him right now. So who knows?
Hey, it always starts that way. Always starts that way.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Other than that, there's not a whole heck of a lot. John Tigers looking like he could easily have a 3-0 week. Giants could easily have a 3-0 week. Pirates easy 3-0 week. A's Padres. Did you put you put so the Padres have maybe a harder schedule. They got the A's and the Giants potentially, but. Yeah, I mean, man, it's a very interesting week. Not a ton of big time matchups, but some divisional stuff, which is always good.
Yeah, I think it's fun around this time because I think it's very necessary to figure out where you're at. It's like, is this even worth it for me to make the push? Because a push could set a team back, a few years.
To your point, I think earlier we're 2.5 weeks from the date, right? And so I'd be curious, and I don't know, maybe I'll put up a poll or something if people are interested enough, but just to see, like, if I go to standings, like what teams don't know what they're doing right now, right? Like I think, very clearly you probably look in the top 10 to 12, 13 teams. All of us are probably, I say us because I'm in there.
I mean, you're leading division. You have to at least throw yourself in there. Yeah.
I would assume, most of us are at bare minimum, right, going to continue to compete at a very high level, right? Even if none of us make moves, we're still going to compete at a high level. But then outside of that, like, again, Brendan, who's at 11-7, like he's, he probably is in the playoffs right now. I feel like he'd be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
he's like
6.
2 weeks away from being like fully in it, and he's tied.
To be reckoned with. He's tied for the 5th seed right now, right, in the AL. So, we'll see if he truly does sell. If he does, that could open up the lane for. I mean, Gary of the Blue Jays always loves to compete, right, and never really wants to sell. So that could maybe be an opportunity for him. If Kevin's team with Tampa. Same thing. If they, if they're all, I don't know what is happening in Tampa all of a sudden, but if they're starting to score a bunch of points or whatever, maybe it's an opportunity for them to buy a couple pieces. But it'll be really interesting to see. Maybe as again someone who's on the other side of things, are you for sure selling? Are you willing to throw that out there yet, or what? I guess maybe a better question is like maybe a better question is not are you personally selling, but you look at let's go like the 6-12 and we're so Arizona, Cleveland, you, Milwaukee, Texas, Cincinnati, Washington, and the White Sox. We're assuming the White Sox are probably going to dump. Right.
I mean,
what should you guys do?
Because does that mean no wins? Is that what that means?
Probably. But what do you guys try and do? Because, knowing this group of guys, very smart, savvy individuals, people probably aren't going to want to pay a ton, right?
Yeah.
But Kevin just chatted. He goes, if I go 3-0 this week, I'm going to trade for Jack Flaherty.
Dude, you have to.
Kevin, you go for it,
will.
brother. You go for it. So yeah, well, I mean, what's your opinion? Like, do you keep trying? Do you try to get the minuscule wins here and there and just rack up a little bit of money, or do you sell it out?
I'm not worried about, like, I guess it's more like a long-term investment when it comes to money-wise, because it's like you can set yourself up to win a ton of games next year. Why would you sacrifice the 3 more wins that you're going to get the rest of the year?
Totally.
I mean, it just sucks. I did not think my team was going to perform or like be, I guess, a contender going into it. But looking at what I have, I feel like it's more of like a second half team anyways. I got a lot of guys that are coming back from injury.
Sure.
Or I should say a few guys that at least be pieces, but maybe it's just good for me to dump them anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like, I'm like the quintessential dump team.
Yeah.
But there's maybe like in the red category, which I believe is kind of what you were referencing.
Pretty much,
as far as the teams you're selecting.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 1 or 2 teams would have even a shot at trying to go for it.
Okay.
What do you mean
playoffs? What do you mean by go for it? Like go for the playoffs?
Just get your foot in the door. Just foot in the door. Which even then it's like good luck. It's I don't see any team that really has playoff hopes besides I would think the AL East teams. like the Jays and the Rays.
Sure.
I think they have the easiest barrier to entry to try to get that foot in the door. Maybe they can make a playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough because even like you look at a team like Allen, who's 9-9. My assumption would be he wants nothing to do with dumping this year, right? That's all he's essentially had to do. So he would love to be competitive. I look at a team like him. I look at a team like Gary of the Yankees. Maybe Evan in Houston. All as potentially being big buyers. It'd be interesting to see. Maybe it's not the top end that's going to be the biggest buyers. Maybe it's the middle. Maybe it's the middle guys. Again, who knows what Brendan's going to do, but, I'm sure Seth will be a buyer. I'm sure John will be a buyer with how his team has been playing. Again, I'd be shocked if Allen wasn't a buyer just, to give himself a good year. But that could look different for every team, right? Depending on pieces and who you have, et cetera, et cetera.
I would say the cutoff would be the Astros and up in the power rankings of who's going to like take it seriously to the point where it's like, okay, I can make a run, not just like get in the door, but like, okay, I can win the first round if I can get in.
And I'm assuming you're including the Mets in that though as well, right?
I guess we would have to. Yeah, I guess I didn't see them down there, but it's considering where they're at in their division and the wins are ripping off. But I would have to include them in there as well.
Okay.
13-5. How can you not?
Exactly.
Not go for it? I totally blind spot on that one. Did not see that. So good call out.
But even to that point too, right? Like he's 13-5, but hopefully he's looking at his team and he's like, I'm scoring way less than most of these top dogs. Maybe I need to go out and get a piece or two, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see who's buying, who's selling, and what the prices are.
Yeah, and what you need also I think would be important too, because if it's like good luck getting a pitcher, if that's really what you're jonesing for, being like, okay, like I have a decent lineup, but I just need that one pitcher. It's like, are you gonna pay that? You really gonna pay that price?
Yeah,
and like bargain your future for that for a run that's not even probably feasible.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because there's some buzzsaws at the top of this league, and I don't know if you really want to mess with that.
Well, and it's interesting too to think about. Adam is kind of famous for doing this, where once he has a division wrapped up, he'll sell pieces, right? Just to try to gain value for the future. Which again, there's nothing against that if you don't think you can contend for the whole season, but you're going to make the playoffs or you're going to win your division. Trying to get rid of a few pieces here and there is not necessarily a bad thing. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these top teams do that. I think I have a couple of 2024 contracts on my team, like Joe Ryan being one of them for the Twins. Now, if I'm still really competing come mid-July, especially if the Twins are playing well, chances of me
Right.
trading my hometown boy are slim to none unless someone's overpaying for him. But I'm sure there's plenty of pitchers out there like that. I think Adam put up Nola and who else? Nola and someone else who two really good pitchers, expensive but really good pitchers, and both on 2024 contracts. Who needs that more, the top end teams or the Allens of the world, right?
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting question too.
No, that's totally fair. I think it would be kind of like a feeding frenzy in the middle versus these top teams. Like, listen, I'm not gonna bargain my future for that when I already have this pretty much locked up as is. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair point.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. But anyway, that is all that we have for this week. Cal, as always, thank you for joining. Hopefully, everyone has a good rest of the week. Like I mentioned earlier. I'll try to put something out hopefully on Friday if David's able to run the power rankings. I'll put it up for everyone so you guys can take a look. But outside of that, that's all I got. So Cal, have a great rest of the week, my man. Thanks for joining me.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Let's go, let's go. Time to grind, time to get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. And I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so right. Follow me, I got the key. I see you on the other side. Ain't nobody know what I've been through. Ain't nobody know what I can't do. I'm ready to go into battle. I'll put on a show, got some shadows. I'm about to take